Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh, and we are live today, 1 p.m. start time. A little bit rare for us, but it's cool now. Breaking news just in our studios. Mike Pompeo has been confirmed as Secretary of State. What does he first do? Flies to Europe. We'll take a look at the confirmation process and the long road ahead. Also this morning, the White House has withdrawn Ronny Jackson in his nomination for the VA as VA chief amid some pretty rapid criticism. We will take a look at what's going on with that. And also, Jill Stein defies Senate intelligence document request, calling it, quote-unquote, overboard. So she is under investigation by the Russians, and we'll see what happens, what comes out of that. But it should be very interesting to see how she handles that ongoing investigation. All right, so now we take you to Washington, D.C., where we have had some breaking news. Just a few moments before we went on air, just about 5 minutes ago, it's just been confirmed that the Senate on Thursday has confirmed Mike Pompeo as the nation's 70th Secretary of State, elevating the current CIA director in an outspoken foreign policy hawk to pretty much inexplicably be the nation's top diplomat. He does not have any diplomatic experience. He is not familiar with this, but instead, if you look at some of his positions in the past, it's very, very worrying about what he thinks he is, like the position he thinks he is in. It's very strange. What exactly is going on there with Mike Pompeo. Pompeo was expected to be sworn in almost immediately after the vote, after which he planned to fly to Joint Base Andrews, where a plane was waiting to fly him to Brussels on his first trip abroad as Secretary of State for a meeting of NATO allies. So, the NATO's he's going to meet up with NATO. But, I mean, I've done this a few times before on the show. All you got to do is type in Google Mike Pompeo, and I'm pretty sure I literally did it like 3 days ago. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna put it in. He is going to. All you got to do, Mike Pompeo, Wikipedia, political positions. Just put it in, and none of these seem like they would be any use in diplomacy. He's just not that kind of person. It just does not make any. It doesn't make any sense to really imagine why he would be in that position. He says he supports the NSA surveillance. We've spied on literally spied on the woman. We've used that exact program to spy on the woman Mike Pompeo is currently flying to Europe to meet with, Angela Merkel of Germany, among others, with the NATO meeting. In the 2013 speech on the House floor, Pompeo said Muslim leaders who failed to denounce acts of terrorism done in the name of Islam are potentially complicit in the attacks. So that's his position on that there. In prisons, he opposes closing Guantanamo Bay detention camp. I mean, that's not a rare position for Republicans, but he is not one of those diplomatic people. He's definitely not one of the most diplomatic people. He supports regime change. He supports getting rid of the Iran deal. He supports, and that's speaking of which, that's not gonna be something many diplomats are going to like, because his predecessor, at least in the last administration, John Kerry, did that deal. In addition, he has edged toward regime change in that region. So, in November 2015, Pompeo visited Israel and said that Benjamin Netanyahu is a partner of the American people. He's very pro-Israel, which is not surprising. During his confirmation hearing, Pompeo stated that Russia. This is for the CIA confirmation hearing. Just to clarify, he also stated that Russia had reasserted itself aggressively, invading and occupying Ukraine, threatening Europe, and doing nearly nothing to aid in the destruction and defeat of ISIS. Pompeo also accused President Obama of inviting Russia to Syria, and he also called WikiLeaks a non-state hostile intelligence service. He also described Julian Assange as a narcissist, fraud, and coward. And he also believes Edward Snowden should be given a death sentence. And he's pretty much one of the worst people. It's a long list of people that I could be going, long list of awful things that I could be going down that he has said in the past, and it's just not good stuff at all. It's really cringeworthy stuff, is what it is. His agenda is already packed, though. He has crucial deadlines in the coming weeks involving Russia, North Korea, Syria, and Venezuela, and he must face these challenges while trying to repair a State Department damaged under the tenure of Rex Tillerson. I'm sure that's gonna be the first thing he's gonna do. Mike Pompeo, the small government Tea Party conservative, is going to jump to fill all those positions right back up in the State Department. Calling me surprised if he does anything of that sort. Senators were pretty mindful of the need to get Pompeo in place, given the crush of work facing him. His confirmation seemed all but assured after Heidi Camp of North Dakota, a Democrat who's running for re-election in the state Trump won handily, said last week she was supported. On Monday, two other moderate Democrats who are running for re-election in states won by Trump, Senators Joe Manchin and Joe Donnelly of West Virginia and Indiana, also pledged support for their nominations. Progressive Democrats all over the country should really, at this point, in my opinion, be taking some notes about what is going on here. This is just not acceptable behavior from a Democrat. You just can't come in there and support. It's not okay to come in there and support a awful dictator person. Not dictator person. Someone who is so contradictory. I get supporting middle of the road kind of guy. I even kind of get supporting Rex Tillerson. But the fact is that they were so planning to get a vote against him, and he didn't have even all the backing of some Republicans. That was pretty much he would not have gotten through. And if the Republicans don't want to vote for him, then you shouldn't, as a self-respecting Democrat, you should not want to vote for him either. So that is. It's just not okay. Anyway, it's just really quite astounding that is occurring. They all voted for him. A vote against Pompeo could have exposed them to attacks from Republicans, including Mr. Trump, eager to label them obstructionists. And I'm sure. You remember what happened. Remember, I'm gonna take you back here. State of the Union. 2017, or was it 2018? I don't know. I think it was 2018. 2018. Joe Manchin, a lone red face in a sea of blue. Oh wait, he's also a Democrat too, but that's not the point. Stands up and claps for President Trump on multiple lines, multiple times, where all the Democrats are sitting down, but the good old Joe Manchin, he is standing up and giving applause with all the rest of the Republicans on various lines about small government, stuff like that. Mike Pence, Donald Trump, they got to be pretty pleased about that, right? Well, 1 week later, Mike Pence rolls on into West Virginia, makes a pretty epic speech against Joe Manchin, one of the few times actually raised his voice, and nails him for being what? A Democratic obstructionist. That's what happens. That's why playing along with the Republicans, voting for the Republicans never works, because, spoiler alert, you're going to get attacked anyway. As long as you call yourself a Democrat, you're going to get attacked every single solitary day of the week from Republicans. If you're in the fray, if you're in that group of people, you're going to be all right. But that's the problem. So Pompeo also managed to avoid what had been an embarrassing rebuke on his way into the new post, as Senate Foreign Relations Committee had seemed likely not to recommend his confirmation. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, an outspoken foe of his interventionist foreign policy, relented just before the committee's vote on Monday, receiving assurance says that he would not come in and change his mind. Pompeo would. As Secretary of State, Pompeo will also have to navigate the rivalries within the Trump administration. At the White House, John Bolton, the administration's third national security advisor in little over a year, is presiding over another purge of top dissidents. Pompeo must forge a working relationship with Bolton as he creates alliances with the White House Chief of Staff, Kelly, and the Defense Secretary, Jim Mattis, as well as the president's son-in-law and top advisor, Jared Kushner. By the way, where has he been? not seen him anywhere in the news coverage or at all. He is just out of there. Pompeo's early military career, as he attended West Point and became a tank commander before leaving for Harvard Law School, could endear himself to Kelly and Mattis, both former four-star generals, and the media, who, like, they literally start foaming at the mouth in joy and excitement and anticipation as soon as they see some sort of a general come in to bring discipline and order. Oh my God, it's the best. Yeah. But handling Kushner will be a delicate matter. Kushner's diplomatic portfolio includes forging a Middle East peace deal and safeguarding the relationship with Mexico, even as Trump pursues his hardline immigration policies and wall on the southern border. Pompeo will also have to mend fences with the American ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, whose relationships with Tillerson were so strange she ordered his portrait removed from her New York offices. So that's fun. She was absent from this week's state dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron, as she should have been, because Nikki Haley is pretty awful. I don't like her. I'm not a fan. I'm sorry. But also, Pompeo's year of service as the director of the CIA has kind of given him a running start. He forged an unlikely bond with Mr. Trump while giving the president daily intelligence briefings. The trust became so strong that Trump sent Pompeo to Pyongyang last month on a secret trip to pave the way for a high-stakes summit with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, now expected to take place in June. So he did do that. That is some good work of diplomacy. I got to give him credit where credit's due. It's important that we have that and that we don't have Donald Trump on Twitter threatening war with North Korea like he has did. So, yeah, that's very, very encouraging. So, anyway, within hours of his landing in Europe, he will preside over a breakfast meeting at NATO headquarters to discuss new measures to counter an increasingly aggressive Vladimir Putin, who U.S. intelligence officials has say ordered the annexation of Crimea, intervention in Ukraine, the hacking of the American election in 2016, and murders or attempted murders of countless rivals, including a former Russian spy living in Britain. He has maintained his military and diplomatic support for the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad despite the massacre of civilians and the use of chemical weapons. The gathering will thrust Pompeo into core contradiction of the Trump presidency, which is staffed with hawks pushing for an increasingly tough line against Moscow, but is headed by a president who hopes to be improving times while he faces an investigation with Robert Mueller, the special counsel, to look into whether his campaign colluded with Russia during the 2016 election cycle. That's a very interesting point there that the New York Times, in this report by the New York Times, does make. It's like he's in a contradiction. Like, you really wonder why it's important to realize, as a Democrat, or just anyone who wants to observe politics correctly and get the true fact of the matter behind things, he is not pushing for these sanctions. If you notice these sanctions, he has no interest in them. He does have definitely a certain push. He does have a certain push, a certain support group among a certain hawk base among his. There's Jim Mattis. There's all the generals. There's John Kelly. They probably couldn't care less about his wanting to soften ties. They're conservatives. They're neocons, and they want to push hard for more direct and more aggressive ties to Russia. That's just what they want to do. That's kind of in their nature. That's their DNA. So that, if you will, that is the dilemma that they do have. But then on the other side, there is quite a lot of people who are who that also side with Trump, like maybe his closer advisors, maybe like a Jared Kushner or somebody like that, who want to kind of keep ties the same. Well, Trump is obviously the biggest force in that desire. But he also did face Mike Pompeo. He did face some questions about it. The biggest questions came from Rand Paul and other Democrats about his foreign policy stance, again, whether we want to intervene in certain places, how we would handle diplomacy with North Korea and Iran and those places in the Middle East. He has said time and time again he wants to intervene in. The vote was 57-42. The president